Hello and welcome to another episode of Making Money with Python. A very simple learn and earn tutorial series with me, Adam Williamson. I'm going to take you through how to use Upwork and find a job, fulfill the job, and hopefully learn a thing or two along the way. Before we begin, as always, I just want to say a big shout out and thank you to all my most recent subscribers and comments. It's been really great. And as you know, I have a big, hairy, audacious goal to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2020. We're fast approaching the end of July, so we've only got 5 more months to go, and we're at about 390 odd, which is feeling pretty great. So yeah, big thank you to everybody who's subscribed. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love for you to go ahead and give it a subscribe. So let's get down to business. Alrighty, so I've been scrolling Upwork. The very first job I found, which is posted 13 minutes ago. I've reached out to the person. Haven't actually heard back from them just yet, but I'm actually going to work kind of backwards here and just make sure we can fulfill the job. And it's a good opportunity for all of us to sort of learn how to fulfill this. So I need an Excel, XLSX file list with all videos of a particular YouTube channel. There are thousands of videos from more than 10 years. File must include in a spreadsheet format. Okay, now it's not paying a great deal, but hey, if we can fulfill this in about 5 to 10 minutes worth of work, it's still $35 better in our pocket than somebody else's. So let's find out what they're asking for. They've got title, tags, date published, watch URL, and view count. So I've opened up Jacksfilms as a good little test. There's about, I think, 1,200 odd videos here. And what are we working with? So we've got the view count, we've got the title. From that, we'll get the URL. Here it says things like 3 days, 1 week, and then kind of moves into, 3 months. It's not ideal. So to get the exact date, ideally, I'm hoping it's in the underlying HTML. Guessing it's probably not, and we might need to go into each video. And I'm also thinking now, they also want, they want the view count as well. So I think the view count we can get, watch URL, date published, tags. Tags is going to be a challenge. Let's see if we can just get all of the titles, age, and the number of views. Cool. First thing I'm noticing as I scroll down, it kind of loads more of the page. Let's just jump into the code and get started. So what I've done is I've actually gone ahead and loaded up some of these packages or modules, and I'll quickly talk you through what each of them are. So today we're going to be using Selenium. I've chosen Selenium because YouTube being quite a mature website, they've got a whole bunch of things, sort of measures in place to stop you from scraping. So by using Selenium, what we're going to do is we are going to actually bring up a Chrome browser, but then control that Chrome browser with Python. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to load up the Chrome WebDriver. Now I'm using the Chrome Driver Manager, which is this one here on PyPy. And the beautiful thing about this is it doesn't require us to go off and download a Chrome driver every time we want to use Selenium. So taking a step back, Selenium is our web driver. It will control the web browser, and our Chrome driver is Chrome itself, which interfaces to our sort of version of Chrome. All WebDriver Manager does for us is just make sure the version's right, and if it's not, it will go off on the internet, download the correct version, and kind of save us from having to worry about it. Moving right along, we're going to import time because we do want to do some sleep action as well. And then we're going to go ahead and import BeautifulSoup, which if you watched episode 1 and 2, you'll know exactly what that's all about. So let's go ahead and shift enter on that. We're going to load in those modules and packages. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and if you recall here, we've got sort of from Selenium import WebDriver. So the first thing we're going to do is actually type out driver equals webdriver.chrome, okay? And this is all standard sort of Selenium stuff, but inside there, rather than specifying the path to our WebDriver, we're going to use the Chrome Driver Manager, which we just had a look at there in the PyPy package, and we're going to ask for that to be installed. Now the good news is it does cache, so if it's already installed, it'll just let us know. So shift enter on that. It's going off and saying, all right, current Google Chrome version is 84, get latest driver, there we go. So what's happened here is it's checked the driver's all good to go, and what you're looking at here on my screen, which is another screen, just a little bit confusing, is actually the Chrome browser that's now being used through Python. So what we might do is we might bring that across here and put it on the same view as this one, and we might even just we'll leave that as is actually. We'll leave that like that. And we'll just we'll Alt-Tab or between them. So now that we have our Chrome window open, what we can do is we can navigate to that URL. So we'll navigate to Jacksfilms. So let's go ahead and do that. And to do that, let's just give ourselves a bit more space here and bring this one up. All we say is driver.get, okay, and we navigate to the URL. Shift enter on that, and what you'll notice here is we have now navigated to that URL. Now what we know about YouTube is, and I won't do it on this browser because that's being controlled by Python, so I want that to be as pure as possible so it's a repeatable process. But what we can actually do is, as we scroll down, let me close this, what's actually happening here is it's automatically loading more videos. So one thing we can do is we can actually tell the Chrome driver to navigate down. One way to do that is by pressing the End key. So to go ahead and do that, what we're going to do is we are going to go and say driver, find element by tag name. Now body. Body is literally just, if you're familiar with HTML, it is just the whole body of the page. Send keys, keys.end. Now if this is making it a bit confusing at the moment, that's completely understandable. Send keys, keys end, it's not the clearest, but the more you use these commands, the clearer they will come. Now what I'll do is I will just actually let's have a look. So we've got the page open here. I will just go ahead and shift enter on that, back to the page, and you'll notice it scrolled down. Okay, shift enter again, scroll down again. Now what we're going to do is, I did notice before, and we'll probably do it again in this window, the number of videos, and I think I found that by literally just searching Jacksfilms, and here we go, 1212. So they got 1,212 videos. So we're going to click on Jacksfilms, and we are going to look at the videos. Shush. And we got, what have we got here? We've got 2, 4, we've got 6 across. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It kind of keeps going. Now I'm just trying to work out how many are on per page. Now if I'm guessing there's sort of 6 across, maybe we'll say 4 down for now as a rough sort of estimate. We are working with about 24 videos per page view. So again, we can use Python as a really rough estimator. So we can say, what was it? It was about, say, 1,300, make it easier. Divide by 24. So if I shift enter on that, we're going to want to down page about 55 times. So a couple of different ways to do that is, what we can say is we can say for, and we're going to use an underscore because we're not actually going to use this local variable to the loop. We're going to say for underscore, and we're going to say range. And for now, we'll just do 5 just to demonstrate if you're not familiar with the range function. And just as this demonstration, we are going to print something to screen. So we'll say hello. It does help if I get the range function right. So for x in range, there we go, and it prints it 5 times. So if we change that to 56, so it keeps scrolling down the page, what we're going to do is we are going to scroll down the page, and we are going to send those keys, which is this command here. But then we're going to wait a little bit as well. So we're going to do this 56 times, and we're going to wait for about 2 to 3 seconds each time. So if I go 56 and I times that by, say, 3-second wait, we've got 168. Now, of course, we can just work this out in our head, but we're going to be sitting here for about 2.8 minutes. So what I might do is I might kick this off and fast forward to, I was going to say tape. So time.sleep, and we're going to sleep for, say, 3 seconds. So one more time, we've got 4, basically underscore, doesn't really matter. In range, driver, find element by tag name, body, send to keys, keys down. So let's go ahead and fast forward that, shift enter on that one, and we're going to copy and paste. And my hands are here, and off we go. So scrolling down, waiting 3 seconds, scrolling down, waiting 3 seconds, scrolling down. And all right, we are back. Okay, so how did we go? It has run all of its loops, nice and easy. What we have available to us now is driver.page underscore source. Now run that. It is an attribute that's going to hold all of the text. It's going to be quite a lot of text. I might have just froze my computer. There it goes. Okay, and what you can see here is all of that HTML of that entire web page because we've used Selenium to keep scrolling down. Where to from here? Well, we kind of just fall into old habits. We say HTML is equal to driver.page source, and now we have a variable that has all of that source code in it. Now, we want to create a BeautifulSoup object. Now, if you recall from my previous couple of videos, soup is equal to BeautifulSoup. Alrighty. We're going to pass in the HTML, and we're going to use the HTML parser like we always do. Shift enter on that. And what we have now available to us, once that finishes running, is we have a soup object. We know that because, or BeautifulSoup object, BS4 BeautifulSoup, that's the type. And what that enables us to do, enables us to interrogate the HTML. So what that looks like is I can ask for things like the title, and we've got the title of the page. I can ask for things like maybe the very first H1 tag, alrighty. And here we have the very first H1 tag and add a text on the end of that. And well, first H1 tag is empty. What we can also do is we can then go into the actual web page itself, and we can have a little look at the underlying HTML by right clicking and looking at inspect, and we can get a feel for how do we go ahead and get, for instance, all of the URL, title, views, and age. So if I right click on, say, the title and go to inspect, what I've got here is I've got a bit of a blob, and I'm just going to, as I'm highlighting, you'll notice on the left hand side it is highlighting different parts of the video. So let's just go all the way up. I think this ID here, dismissible, is everything I'm going to need. I just want to make sure that everything has the same ID. So what I might quickly do is I might take a copy of that, Control F, Control V, hit enter on that. And there we go. As I'm searching for this dismissible, it is highlighting each of the videos. So div ID dismissible, what we can actually do is we can say soup.findAll. Now we know it's a div, so as we just say soup.findAll div, and we know it's an ID, so we say ID, and we know it's dismissible. So we're doing a find all, so it's going to return all of them. So shift enter on that. And again, it might freeze up a little bit because I have about over 1,000 to find. So what we might do is we might play that a bit smarter. We might call this one, say, videos, okay? I've made a variable called videos, and what I can do is I can check its length, all right? And it's 1212, which is, I think, about the number we're looking for. So we're in good shape. And what I might do is I might say for video, in videos, okay? Let's go ahead and just for now print out the video. Now I don't want to have to loop through this 1,212 times. It is going to fill my screen with text again. So what I might do is I might put a quick break in there, and all it's going to do is loop once. Cool. So it's looped once, and what we can see here, just in that one video, this is all of the HTML that's available to us. And what we're going to do is we're going to rely on the inspect element to find the details that we're after. So what we're after is definitely the URL, okay? So if I go ahead and inspect the thumbnail, we've got the thumbnail here. Let's have a look. So we're just having a bit of a poke around, seeing what we're working with. So let's find out. Let's make our lives a bit easier and find the title to begin with. Just make it a nice easy one. So video title is the ID, and it's an A tag, okay? So what we can say here is within video, we can say video.find, and we're looking for an A tag, and the A tag has an ID, and the ID we just copied and pasted, and it's video title. And so the easiest thing to do here is say maybe title is equal to, and we've got this bit of a search query here on our BeautifulSoup, and let's go ahead and print that just to see if it's working correctly. Now what's been printed here is the entire A tag. We are only really interested in the name of the video. Let's go ahead and get the title again, .text, shift enter on that, and we now have the title of that video. And to prove that out, what I might do is I might comment out that break, shift enter on that, and straight away you can see here what we have available now is every single title of every single one of Jacksfilms. Cool. So let's take it to the next level. Let's go to the next step. What else do we want to collect from these videos? We definitely want to collect the views. So let's inspect the views. Just right click inspect there. Scroll down, have a bit of a poke around. What do we got? Class, style, scope. It's in here somewhere. Span, class, style, scope, text, vid, render. I'm just having a look around. We've got one here called div ID meta line. Now meta line then has a span, then has some text. I think we can probably get it via, the div ID meta line. Okay, so what we can do now is we can do views, and views are equal to, and it's very similar to before, but this time around we're looking for metadata line, okay? And metadata line is a div ID. So again, we'll just go here, we'll say video.find, we'll pop that in there. And this time around it's a tiny bit different. It's a div rather than a tag. So let's go ahead and look and search for a div. And then we'll go look at views, similar to before, views.text. Now we are just in a bit of testing mode, so we'll pop that in there, shift enter. Okay, so we've got a couple of things in there. We actually have the views and we have the number of days. So I think meta line isn't getting us close enough. Now we're finding meta line. Okay, let's take out this .text and let's have a look at what we're working with here. So we've got a couple of things actually. We've got let's have a look, style scope, grid, renderer. Alrighty, so what we could probably do is, what I'm noticing is there's two spans in here, okay? There's two spans, and what we can probably get away with doing is finding the first span and then finding the second span. So to do that, what we might do is we might pull this out of here, okay? Let's clear this up a little bit. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna give this a name of, say, meta, and meta is going to find this chunk here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, we've got meta, we're going to say actually, and here we're going to say find all right, and we're going to find all the spans. Now what that's going to end up giving us is, if we print out the meta, it's going to give us a list, and it's going to give us a list of spans, all right? It didn't work. Why didn't it work? You know why? Span. Here we go. Now we've got a list returned. Now we're doing a find, but we want to do a find all, because we do a find all, guess what? It's going to find all of them. No, it's not, because I want to do that here. Meta line find all. That should work. Let's understand why. What do we got here? Yep, it's worked. So it's just hidden a little bit. So we got item 1 and item 2. So what that looks like now is to get the views are equal to meta, and we're going to select the first element, alrighty, and we're going to select the text of that element. So what that looks like now is, if I go views, 432,000 views. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to find how old this video is. Now unfortunately it doesn't give us the exact date. I'm just going to double check and confirm that. I'm just going to look for the word 2020 to see if it's hidden somewhere. Expires? No, that's probably to do with a token of sorts. Now let's keep looking. I'm finding 17 2020s. Now that's obviously telling me that there's no 2020 in the HTML, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and for now, let's grab the, I'm going to call it maybe date, age or date, age, it's probably the age of the video age. Okay, and the video age, is equal to, similar to before, but this time round it's meta 1. And the reason we're doing this is because we've got those two spans, and we're going to get the meta 0 and the meta 1. Now I'm just going to clean up these equal signs because I like to just make them look nice and neat. And we're going to test that and put in the video age 3 days ago. Looking good. So the final thing we need for now anyhow, because we can't get those tags without going into the video, is we need to get the URL. Now the URL shouldn't be too hard to find. Let's have a look and see where the URL is. If I right click and go copy link and just search for that link, okay, let's go and search for that link and let's just see where it's at. We might get rid of this bit. Okay, here we go. We've got an image and we've got a link in there. So let's have a look and see the URL we're dealing with here. We've got image ID, image YT image shadow. We probably don't want that. We've got a class here, style scope image. Yeah, it's not bad. Now I'm pretty sure that URL is in 4 places. So let's see where else it is. It's also in the title. Okay, so in the H3 there is an href. There is in the video title there's an href. Okay, so we're already getting the video title. And the way we're doing that is we're getting the title by looking at find, and if I shift enter on that, we're not actually getting the title, we're getting the whole thing, but it does have the URL. So what we might do is we might actually call this one title, and we'll say .text, and now we have the title. And we might do the same thing, and we might just rename this from title to say video URL. Okay, and what we might do from video URL, rather than asking for text, we might ask for the href. Okay, let's see if that's come through for us now. Beautiful. So we've got this beautiful little /watch. Now we can obviously just add YouTube to that. If it was a huge amount of data, I'd be a little bit concerned, purely because it would get quite large very quickly. But let's just have a look and copy that URL. And so we're working with Google at the start, not Google, YouTube. So let's go ahead and add that to our video URL. One of the easiest ways to do that is to use the concatenation plus, shift enter on that, and we now have the video URL. So we're at the point now where we've kind of got a good bit of metadata. It's not ideal. We probably do need to go into each of the videos to get more details, but so far it feels like this job is completely doable. Where to from here, to sort of prove to the client that I can complete this job, I would package this up and provide them a bit of a sample of a sort of Excel file. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we are going to loop through all of this data we have available. Now to do that, we need to create a list to hold it all. I like to call my list the master list for some reason. I still don't know why. Master list is equal to a blank list. And in the data dictionary, now the data dictionary in each of the loops is going to start out as an empty dictionary, and then by the end it's going to fill up. So we're going to say data dictionary, and we're going to create some keys in the dictionary. I'm about to show you what this will look like in 2 seconds. So data dictionary video URL. Alrighty, so we'll grab that one as well. We've got some metadata here. So again, data dictionary, pause. We probably don't need the metadata. That's just more of a helper variable. What we do need is the views and the video age. So we'll go ahead and grab those ones as well. So, oops, put that one in here. Grab that data dictionary. Cool. And we'll do it one more time. And we'll just say this one here. And what we're doing here is we're creating keys for our dictionary. Okay. And we'll make sure we get this right. We actually close off our square brackets. Shift enter on that. And now when I look at this data dictionary after one loop, that now looks like this: title, video URL, the views, and the video age. Now there's a few things we could do here to make this a little bit smarter. What we might do is, for now I'm pretty happy with it actually. Let's go ahead and add those to the master list. So we'll walk through this in a moment, but what we're going to be doing is, well, we're going to be cleaning up this equal sign. So let's just do the code and we'll talk through it in a moment. Cool. So from start to finish, we are saying, hey, master list, it's an empty list, starts off as empty. Then for video, and again, this could be any sort of variable you want to name it, but it is a variable that's sort of localized to the for loop. So for video and videos is obviously our big long list of BeautifulSoup objects which have isolated each of those videos. We're looking for the title, then we're looking for the video URL. We've got some metadata here. It's more of a helper sort of variable. And then we've got the views and the video age based on that metadata. So what this is going to do at the very end here, it's going to append each of those data dictionaries to the master list. So what that looks like is, if I look at the master list right now, we have 0 information in there. Shift enter on this, and we look at the master list now. You can see straight away we've got some very well structured, thought out data, which looks like this. Now you're probably wondering, hey Adam, the client's asked for an Excel file, okay? Why don't you give them an Excel file? So what we're going to do is we are going to import Pandas, okay? Pandas is a fantastic data science sort of analytics package, really great for working with tabular data and all sorts of data. What we're going to do is we're going to shift enter on that. Again, we're sort of quick testing. We don't need to worry about putting it at the top or anything crazy at the moment. We are going to define a DataFrame, DF. You can call this anything you want. In fact, we'll give it a better name than that. We'll call it YouTubeDF, YouTube DataFrame. And we're just going to say pd.dataframe, and we're just going to pass in the master list. Now, Pandas is smart enough to know that what you're saying is, I want to make each of the keys a column header, and then all of the values, the data. Now, what that means is if I go ahead and say .to_CSV, I can say sample output YouTube, okay, CSV, and I don't really want to worry about the index for now, and that's just this column to the left. We don't need that in our Excel document. And we're saving a CSV. We can quite easily output to XLS as well, but it's just as easy to output through to CSV. Shift enter on that. They both open up in Excel, so that's okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to navigate to our folder where that's been saved to, which is the same folder in which we have our notebook. So let me just do that now. Cool. So we've navigated to the same folder as our notebook, and if I just open up that CSV, that'll open up very nicely in Excel, and straight away we'll be able to see we now have all of that really rich data available. Now I'm just looking at this here. We've got some interesting examples. Obviously there's some here that have a K, some that have an M. That's not ideal if you want these as numbers and you want to be able to sort them by the most popular videos. So what we can probably do is we could probably play it smart, and we can probably clean up the data just a little bit. So obviously 1.2 million, I'd want to times that by a million to give us a number that's a million. If it has a K in it, I'd probably want to times it by 1,000. So let's go ahead and just give that a really quick try. Now there's a couple of different places we could do this. We could quite easily do that in the views here. But let's do it in Pandas, just in case you haven't got much experience with Pandas and you want to get familiar with how to do some text cleaning in Pandas. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our data frame. Let's think about this for a second. We might go ahead and do something as simple as defining a function. We'll call this convert views. Okay. This one we're going to pass in the entire data frame. It's just an easy way to apply it to the entire data frame. You can quite easily apply this just to the series. I prefer applying things to the data frame in examples where I'm comparing multiple columns, and now it's just become a bit of a habit. But I highly recommend you check out the Pandas documentation. It's really rich, and there's heaps of cool stuff you can do. So what we're going to say here is if df, now we're passing in the data frame, so df is the local variable here for the function. So if df, we're going to call out the actual column, which is I think views, okay? So if df, now we'll probably start with k, alrighty? So if capital K, if capital K is in views, now the way this works is as it's looping through, it's going to loop through each row. So if k is in the value it's looking at, so if k is in views, let's go ahead and let's take views, and once we're at this level, basically df views is now treated as just a regular string. Df views dot, we're going to say split, and what we're going to split by is k, and what that's going to do is it's going to generate a nice little list for us. Now I'll demonstrate that quickly outside of the function. So what that looks like is we've got 432k views. Now if I run the command split here and I put a k in there, we now have a very nice list. And of course I can select the first element in the list, which looks like that. And then I can say something like times 1,000. Oops. Think smarter, Adam. I've times 1,000 for a string. So what we do need to do is before we times by 1,000, we actually need to convert that to a number. And to do that, we just wrap it up in an integer, which looks like that. This is now a number. So when I times that by 1,000, we now get the accurate number. So let's go ahead and replicate that in here. So dfviews.splitk. Seeing as though we've already got this available to us, let's wrap that in an integer. Okay, integer split k times 1,000. That makes absolute sense to me. And then what we're going to say here is we're going to say that is views. And so if it is k, if k is in the views, then for this one, let's go ahead and return views. Alrighty. Else, now I'm pretty sure they all have a K or an M in them for now, and we can prove this out in a moment. But what we'll do is else, and we're going to say else if, and in this example there is some with an M. Alrighty. So if it's an M, and again we've got some weird stuff going on. So that might say elif rather. So elif, so else if basically, elif, and we're looking for an M. Okay, so let's look for an M in there. If M is in views, then it's views times, we've got 1,000. We need to put 1 million. So let's go ahead and figure that out. So we've got 1 followed by 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I also have to do this. So we've got tens, hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. Is that right? I'm going to say it's right. And let's return view. So we make sure that's set to M and Shift Enter. Nothing will happen just yet because we do need to apply that to our data frame. To do that, what we'll do is we will define a new column, and to define a new column is really easy in Pandas. It's just YouTube. Make sure we get our name right here. So YouTubeDF is our data frame, and we'll give it a name of, say, something as clever as clean views. Okay, and clean views is equal to YouTube, and make sure we get this right. So YouTubeDF, we are applying something, not Apple. We are applying something, and what we're applying is this function here. So we pass that in. No need to add the open and close brackets. It only takes in one argument, which is the data frame itself. And then finally, we just need to specify the axis, which in this case is axis is equal to 1. Shift Enter on that. Okay, invalid literal for integer 1.1. Of course. Okay. Because we've got a decimal place, we should be using float. And in fact, just in case there is one day weird decimal places in K, we'll do the same. So all we've done there is change that to float to allow for decimal places. Now when I look at the YouTubeDF, Shift Enter on that, we now have the clean views. Now I've got, say for example here, I've got 1.2 million, and that's 1.2 million. That's looking very clean. And what we might do is just to clean that up a little bit further, we might then just say after that, just to keep it nice and easy, we might say that's equal to, we'll say itself, and we'll make it as an integer. Okay, so all we've done there is converted the type as type to integer, and then when I look at the YouTube data frame, we now have all of those very clean as an integer. Same logic as last time. We can just say to CSV, and I think we just rerun this one. And then if I open that one up now, we now have the clean views. So what that looks like is we can go ahead and sort by the clean views, because before we couldn't really sort by that column. Okay, it wasn't the cleanest. We can go ahead and sort, and we can go from largest to smallest. And we can very easily see that the largest here is this 24 million, which we can prove out by looking at that. And that one was posted 11 years ago. And it's a Snuggie parody, okay? So 11 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. These years ago, again, we can probably clean this up a lot. I'm probably going to pause here because we have used up quite a bit of time. In this learn and earn, it was more on the side of learning. I'm going to use this as a bit of a, hey client, here's sort of what we can do as an example. We can probably extend our Selenium script to then go into each of these video URLs and source things like tags and exactly the date of the video and those types of things as well, even maybe the top 10 comments if they really wanted to. But it is only a $35 job. I use this one as more of an example for when you do get a YouTube sort of client. This is a really good way or a good starting point to use Selenium and figure out how to go down and get all that data out of there. Before we wrap up, I just want to again say a huge thank you to all of my subscribers, my viewers, and all the comments as well. I am genuinely overwhelmed by the number of people who are happy to hit that subscribe button. And look, again, I'm trying to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. I'm going to try to post on a regular basis. Not going to commit to any particular time frames, but fingers crossed, at least every week or two. And I want to do some more series as well. So making money with Python's one thing, but let's do deep dives into questions in the comments. Let's do some stuff around top questions on Stack Overflow. Let's really master Python, because once you've got that skill set, it's going to be with you for life, and it's going to be able to earn you a lot of money. Look, I'm Adam Williamson. Thank you so much for watching today, and have a good time.